Best Bites Forever.
Hey everyone, welcome to Best Bites Forever. My name's Alicia, and in this video you're going to learn how to make this horchata. Let's get started. Here I have 2 cups of water along with 2 cups of sugar. I'm making a simple syrup. If you want, you can just add sugar at the end, but I find the syrup goes in easier, so this is going to go on the stove to dissolve the sugar. I'm also putting on 6 cups of water, and I'm going to bring that to a boil. Over here in my blender, I'm going to put in 1.5 cups of long grain rice. And I'm just going to pulse this a couple of times to kind of break the rice up and make it a little bit smaller. I'm doing this on the ice grinder setting because for my blender anyway, it just needs that extra little bit of power to chop up the rice. So this is what it's going to look like when it's nice and chopped. It's kind of got the consistency of like coffee grounds or something like that. I'm also going to add a stick of cinnamon in here, and this is the type of cinnamon that I'm using. You can use whatever kind you want, but I'm using that. I'm not going to like beat this thing to death in here, but I do want to pulse it a couple of times just to kind of chop it up a little bit like so, and this is what it looks like. My water is ready to go in here, so I'm adding that 6 cups of boiling water. Please make sure that your blender is able to take boiling water before you pour it in there so you don't have a mess. You can always do this in a bowl if you have to. I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir just to make sure that all of the rice is getting wet. I don't want any of it like stuck there and getting kind of, held up under the blade or anything like that. So just give that a little stir. And then I'm going to leave it on my counter, and each time I walk by it, I'm going to give it another little stir. So it's going to hang out on my counter and cool for probably about an hour and a half. And here it is an hour and a half later. I put it back onto my blender stand, and I just want to kind of blend it just for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, and then I'm going to put it into the refrigerator. I'm going to leave it in there for at least 8 hours. You can totally leave it in there overnight if you would like to, but 8 hours is pretty good since we use the hot water. This is what it's going to look like. You can see that it's pretty separated at this point, and that's fine. That's what it's supposed to look like, but I'm going to go ahead and blend it for about 3 minutes, and it's going to look like this. So the next thing that we need to do is strain it. Here I have my little setup. So I have some cheesecloth, I have my little strainer, and I have a bowl. And my cheesecloth is a double layer, that way none of the little fine pieces are going through. And I just want to go ahead and add some of the liquid into there. I'm doing probably 1/3 to 1/2 at a time, so you can do however much you can do, just depending on the size of your bowl and what you're working with, and I guess how big your hands are. So anyway, pour some of it in there and then gather up the cheesecloth like so, and then gently squeeze the liquid through. You don't want to get like crazy here and squeeze too hard because you can break your cheesecloth. So, just like a little bit of gentle pressure here, and you can see that it's coming out pretty easily. I'm going to continue doing that in batches, so I have just a little bit of that left in there, no big deal. Go ahead and add in the next little bit. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I end up with some pretty dry rice at the end. Like, I put all of the little particles in there too, and I squeezed it as hard as I possibly could, and then I'm just going to discard that. So this is my simple syrup, which has totally cooled off because I made it way earlier. I would recommend adding in about 1/2 cup at a time to get to the flavor that you like. I'm adding in 1.5 cups because my kids really like it sweet. And then I'm also adding in a tiny little bit of salt. And this is the time, if you want to add in vanilla, you can add in like 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Be careful because it can really overtake the flavor of this pretty quickly. Give it a little stir, give it a taste, decide if you need to make any adjustments to the sweetness, the vanilla, the salt, or whatever. And once you get those little adjustments made to your own taste, this is ready to serve. I definitely like mine served over ice. It has plenty of cinnamon flavor from that cinnamon stick, but if you want to, you can give it like a little cinnamon stick garnish or even some powder, and this is what it looks like when I served it up.